Okay. So last week we looked at, we did a review of paragraph 22. And this week we're really going to go headway into paragraph 23. We already started paragraph 23 a couple of weeks ago, but we're going to start from the beginning because I don't think that we probably don't remember so much from it. But I just want to show you the comparison chart that we did last week, because it's actually going to form the foundation of what we're going to learn today. So this was from paragraph 22. It was the 4 differences between Etz and Vispashtos and העלם וגילוי. This should be familiar to you because we went into it in a lot of detail. And the point of comparison was about the Hispashtos, about inclusion in the source, and about how it is in relation to the Makabel. And just very briefly, just to remember, so with Etz and Vispashtos, there's a Hispashtos outwards from the source, and העלם וגילוי, it's not possible. There's no Hispashtos. Regarding the inclusion in the source, so with Etz and Vispashtos, it's Dvar Nivdal, it's something slightly separate, but united with it. And the word was mitached, from the word echad. But with העלם וגילוי, the word used is yichud. It's one and the same thing. And in paragraph 23, he's going to go deeper into this idea of what is, what's echad and what's yichud. One is, they're separate things that are connected, and yichud is that it's one thing. And then in relation to the Makabel, Etz and Vispashtos, was that the Hispashtos of the Mashpia comes down to the place of the Makabel. So there's not a real elevation of the Makabel. But with העלם וגילוי, the Makabel needs to elevate himself to the place of the Mashpia himself. And the words used was that he lifts up his eyes. And because of that, with Etz and Vispashtos, the Makabel only grasps the metzius, like the existence of that which is hidden, or of the source. And with העלם וגילוי, he grasps the atzmus of the thing itself, because he looks at it. And, the mashal of Etz and Vispashtos that helped us a lot was the idea of the sun and the ray of the sun, that we can look at the ray of the sun. We don't look directly at the sun itself. That's the Hispashtos coming out of the sun. But with העלם וגילוי, the mashal was a treasure that's buried under the ground, that you have to dig and find the treasure. But then it's just revealed to your eyes what it is. There's no Hispashtos, there's no extension of the thing itself. You just find the thing itself. And the other mashal was that first it was a treasure that's hidden under the ground, and the other was that it's a treasure in a box, that you just have to, open the box. You have to remove the cover. So that's העלם וגילוי and Etz and Vispashtos. And now in paragraph 23 that we're going to do, he's going to go into a lot more detail regarding all of these ideas. And he's also going to bring the idea of the tzimtzum, the kab, the reshimu, in order to explain it to us. And I was saying to Mila, look, we can't take for granted that all of us here really are so familiar with the idea of what the tzimtzum, the reshimu, and the kav are. But they're not the main point of the paragraph. So actually, Mila was saying that in chapter 10, he goes into detail about what is the kav, what is the chut, what is the reshimo. So as we go along, Mila will explain as much as we need to know about the kav and the chut and reshimo in order to understand his point. But his main point is not about those things. His main point is we're gonna explore what it is. We'll find out.
Maria, can I ask a question about Helen Vagila? Because I was looking it over last night, and it was a little bit mind-boggling. That, but I think maybe I'm getting it a little bit. So how is it possible if Helen, if the hidden and the revealed are one? How can something be hidden and revealed at the same time? So is that just a matter of time, but it all comes from the same place?
So my answer would be that if you go back to the mashal, because he gives us a really strong mashal, the treasure was hidden under the ground. So the treasure existed as a treasure. Now we, take the treasure out and open up and you see the treasure. What changed? Did something change in the treasure?
You see.
Yeah. So
okay, so I get it. It's a matter of time. It's not both. It really isn't then both hidden and revealed at the same time. It's either hidden or revealed, but it's the same essence.
Right. There are a couple of sentences there towards the end, which I also found a little bit confusing, where I could see where you could get confused because the way that he talks about the Helem and the Gilui, that they're the same thing. But I think that if you go to the Mashal, maybe Milo can give, especially the way it gets translated can be confusing. But if you go back to the Mashal, you understand that it's only relative to the Makabel, that there's such a thing as hidden and revealed.
Either you see it or you don't.
Right, either you see it or you don't. So to say that it's a matter of time, I don't know if time is necessarily the issue.
Right. It could be two different people. For one it's hidden, one it's revealed at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
If you go back to what he says like, what's the difference in relation to the Makabel? Is with Helem Vigilui, the Makabel has to lift up his eyes to the source. Like he has to be elevated. So if you wanted to say what is the difference, I wouldn't say it's necessarily time. It's more whether the Makabel is elevating himself towards the source or not.
And in the mashal, that would be if he's digging for the treasure?
Yeah, maybe. How would you say it, Mila? You're muted.
Yeah, 100%. That's that's what it is. It's meaning in the העלם וגילוי, Makabel has to elevate himself to the level of the mashpia in order to have a relationship. Okay? Now, you have to see the mashpia. That's just what it is. Now, because mashpia is not extending himself, basically. Okay? Mashpia is in his place. You want to come see me? Come. So we could relate to it like Elul and Tishrei type of thing. You understand? Elul, Hashem extends his Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, goes to the field. Do you understand? In Elul, we have this more etzem with his pashtus type of thing. Okay, and then Tishrei is, starting with Rosh Hashanah, we are in the palace. Understand? It's becoming very official now. There's no casualty here. You're standing in front, of a king in its all full glory. You're accepting it or you don't. You understand? It's like more of that roimemus that we are experiencing. And we're like, Amelech HaYoshev al Kisar Ben Yisra, right? Okay, so we feel that, and that's where the Yira is being, born. Now, with all, okay, with that's where things happening. Now, So
but
in the
Elul comes first.
Exactly. The Yehuda Tata comes before Yehuda Ilah, right?
Wow, that's beautiful. Elul and Tishrei, it's Yehuda Tata and Yehuda Ilah.
Okay, like we see Hashem in the farm, right? And then he drags us into the palace. So etzem v'hispashtus is essential to understand. We should not undermine the power of understanding because that's the closest to us. Okay. If we try to skip levels, as he said in the beginning of this chapter, remember, you first need to master Yehuda Tata. You first have to understand this whole etzem v'hispashtus, because Hashem sent us a ray. And we're like, oh, what is a ray, Kinderlach? The ray. You know, so we can know that there's a sun, right? So we're like, okay, we bring that back to the source, okay? And then we have another ray, and we put that ray back into the source. By the way, we went to the aquarium with our kids, and I actually had to take them because the counselor couldn't take it, and I appreciate it. You know what they have there? Oh my gosh, New York Aquarium, you have to visit it. This is something unbelievable. They have this like huge underground tunnel, and you know it's all glass, and you see everything what's going on, you know, in a water kingdom. And there you could also see the sun of the ray. You know, when you're in the water, when you see the water, you could actually see the rays of the sun dancing as the water goes up and down. You know, there's a what do you call it, vibrations in the water constantly, right? And you see those rays. It was so beautiful. Just my camera on my phone was broken. Like I couldn't take it because I was like, oh my gosh, I have to show it to the class. It was really beautiful. You could literally see the sun rays. It's actually separates. When they go through the water, you could actually see each one of them a separate entity in a way. It's very beautiful. The sun ray, yeah, you could see like they're little pieces.
So where's the sun coming from if this is underground?
No, they go into the water, and when they're in the water, you could see the sun ray. More separate than when you see when you look at in the air, you don't see that separation. Understand? When they actually go into the water, you could see like sun rays. I guess you could measure them in some extent. I don't know. Like I'm not into physics, but I guess it was really beautiful. So that's that. And so meaning it's kirva lasechel. Remember, Yehuda Tata is when we come bringing closer to our brain the idea of Hashem, the idea that everything is coming from Hashem, the idea that Hashem is the source. Okay, and how we bring all details of our lives to that source. That's the avodah of Yehuda Tata, right? And through repetitive avodah of bringing everything back to its source, we all of a sudden transcend in a way. Okay, we switch into understanding that not only that all the details are connected, that there are no details, that everything is one big cloud, okay? But we cannot move to the next level of that higher awareness of Yehuda Ilah if we don't do the avodah of these details, pratim, going back, you understand? It's like, and he brings this, the mashal about the avodah of Bina, right? And how it becomes all elevated into like this depth of Chochmah. Remember, he brings us into this in the beginning of the chapter. He was talking about, I don't know which paragraph that was. Whatever we learned about Iyun in the first chapter, now we can actually apply, you know, in this understanding of Elokus through Yehuda Ilah, Yehuda Tata, right? So Yehuda Tata was more the details of Bina, okay, working through. And Yehuda Ilah was Omek HaMusag, right? More of that, you know, joining together Omek HaMusag the way it is already in the Chochmah, okay? And that's where that whole switch takes place, where we no longer see separate details being united which is the idea of echad. But we see yochid, where at one point you'll start seeing only Hashem. Okay?
Mommy.
And through that, you'll bring it back more into, the grounding point. That awareness will become the awareness where before it was Yehuda Tata. You understand what I mean? And then, you go higher and higher with that. Does that make sense? So it's just like kind of this, this.
It's also useful, I think, to just refer back. He gives us a hint when he says that the makabel has to lift up his eyes, su'u marom einechem. So perhaps you'll remember that phrase from earlier on, in earlier chapters, where he says, su'u marom einechem, and we actually know from Hayom Yom that the first letters of those three words, su'u marom einechem, is shin, mem, ayin, shema. He doesn't say it specifically here, but so this idea of the makabel lifting up his eyes to the mashpia is connected to the idea of the Shema, which is a theme that is running through chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. So it's very connected, this idea, su'u merom einechem, to Yehuda Ilah, to looking upwards to the source, but it also suggests everything that we know about Shema, which is hisbonenut, is also connected to that. All right. Mila, should we go into the text?
Yeah, I think, I was, we were debating whether we want to, really tell you over to prepare you. But I think there are some times where, and that's something what we want to do in general. And I think there's a big chochmah in doing it that way, is we in general used to receiving from others. You understand? The conclusions of what other people, have after reading certain things, which has a mile to it. But then there is point where you want to read yourself, okay, and you want to come to these conclusions on your own. Okay, and that's what we encourage in general, is a text-based. Okay, let's read it, and come to these conclusions on their own. What do you think we can come after reading this particular passage, right? It's quite long, so we take a deep breath and let's just read what he has to do. He is still going to be explaining to us Yehuda Ilah, Yehuda Tata, Halem, וגילוי, עצם והתפשטות. These are the concepts that we're going to be hashing over. Okay, so let's see how that all fits. Now he's going to add a few more layers about the tzimtzum harishon, the first tzimtzum, echad and yachid, and kav, rishimu, all these things. These are beautiful concepts, but again, this is not why he is bringing this information. He's not describing right now what rishimu, what tzimtzum harishon, what kav means. He's bringing it as a supplementary thing. Now, don't feel nervous if you do not understand it right from this paragraph, because this paragraph is not meant to discuss this. Okay, this paragraph meant to discuss what we are discussing here in this third chapter. There's going to be time and place where we're going to learn at great detail about these concepts, tzimtzum harishon, kav v'chud, and rishimu, and all that stuff. Okay, so we're just going to go through it. We don't have to be like, oh my gosh, I don't understand how that works. It's fine. Let's go over, to different paragraphs. And when the time and place will come for us to learn that in detail, we're going to learn that in detail. Usually the later chapters. Okay, so we don't have to be kind of like, forcing our brain to understand them. We could just know what they are. That's it. And then, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll learn them in detail. So I'm going to share my screen now. And it's big enough.
You could make it a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. והניב של יומן למעלה, במה שכוסף, Okay, and who the afikas eser tikkunin hu, right? And the mashal, the nimshal, right? We will understand from the statement. Okay, you are who he brought forth 10 tikkunim, which is discusses in tikkunei zar. Please forgive me. I would have like this little breaks. Okay, v'ha'inyan tikkunin hu b'chinas kelim the Yetzirah the Atzilus, right? Meaning that tikkunim, these are the aspects of kelim of the 10 spheres of Atzilus. That's the word tikkunim means, right? And interesting, if you think about it, tikkun is usually, we understand it as a word meaning rectification. Tikkun is something that you need to correct, right? But here in this content, it means vessels. Okay, vessels. These are, the vessels that reveal certain things. Okay. Shenetlu alidei oires the Yetzirah hami'irim mi'atzmius hamatzil. Right. That these were emanated through the light of the 10 spheres. This tikkunim, right? They emanated through the light of these 10 spheres, which shine from the essence of the emanator. Okay. Now, to move over b'makom acher. Right, it is explained in another place. Or ha-chochmah eina mitzias chochmah ba'atzmai. So now we're talking about the world of Atzilus right now, right? So the light of Chochmah in Atzilus. Okay, so now every sphere has the light and the keli. Okay, in all the worlds is like that. So we're talking about the light of Chochmah. It's not the actual existence, the mitzias of Chochmah itself. So what is it? Ugilui or hama'atzil laha'atzil mitzias Chochmah zu nikra or ha'chochmah. So rather, this is the revelation of the light of the emanator to emanate the existence of Chochmah, meaning it's like a potential. It's a potential for Chochmah to exist from Ma'atzil, okay, but it's not there yet, okay, but it's already getting a formation, right, meaning what is that Hashem is going to reveal? Chochmah. Okay, but it's not revealed yet. That's still considered to be the light of Chochmah. That's what is called the light of Chochmah. But the actual existence of Chochmah is the aspect of the vessels of Chochmah, meaning the actual revelation, right? And kind of like tefisa, right? Where that light is actually being caught. That happens in the vessels. So what is it? Gam hakli eina mahus Chochmah. But it says, however, even the vessels are not the actual essence, the actual Chochmah. What is it? So in the world of Atzilus, that Chochmah, it's the source from which the Chochmah can become into being within Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Okay, so basically, it's something exists there, right? As a light and as a keli, pertaining to Chochmah, but it's not yet the revealed Chochmah, the way we know it. And therefore, okay, blima, Sefer Yetzirah. Therefore, the spheres are called blima, without whatness, whatever that is, without what, okay, that without or defined substance. And that's a nice translation. The defined substance, it's described in Sefer Yetzirah this way, okay, and it's enough to understand. So now all these lights, why we call it in plural? Because the same way how it's a light of Chochmah, light of Bina, Das, Chochmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, etc., right? All these are lights, and they also have kelim. But whatever, all that composition of lights and kelim in Atzilus, okay, are not drawn down in the manner of Etzem v'Hispashtus, and b'derech Helem v'Gilui, right? They are revealed in the derech, in the way of derech Helem v'Gilui, and therefore, v'lechein gam kodem shehi'iru l'ha'atzil hakli hayu oires b'shlimusam atzmus ha'matzil b'koch. Therefore, even before they shone in order to emanate the vessels, right? The lights existed in the full perfection within the essence of the emanator, in potential. Okay, but in the poil, they're going to come in which world? In the actual poil. It's going to come in Beriah, because Beriah is creation. So Atzilus is kind of in between level. Okay, they are forming, but they're not there yet. Okay. Ki amitas ha'oir hu yecholos yisbarach la'atzil mitzius chochmah chesed. For the true meaning of the light, what is the true meaning of the light? Is his ability to emanate the existence of Chochmah and Chesed, or Chesed. Ube'emes hu kol yochol, and in truth, he can do everything. And this ability is not compound within him, chas v'shalom. What do you mean compound within him? Compound means the ability to do anything. It's not only an ability to do this, an ability to do that, an ability to do the other, right? When we already competualize, I think that's the word of it, the abilities, then it's already compound. Okay, when we are talking about simple, pashut, right? It's the opposite of murkav. Okay, pashut means anything comes from that, but if you open that thing up, there is nothing there. Okay, so that's what pashut means. Okay, and here is yecholis eina murkevas. That ability is a simple ability. Ukmo lemata benefesh hanivra, right? This is also unlike below in the soul of a created being. In the soul of the created being by us, the chatchila neshama already divided into all the koiches. Okay, and then it comes in our body and it matches. Chochmah to the right brain, Bina to the left brain, blah, blah, blah. Because already within the Chochmah, it was divided. Within the Neshama, it was already divided in it. When we are talking about the way Hashem creates the world, it's not like that. In Hashem, it's not divided. Okay? Because Hashem is fully Yochid. And we're going to learn the difference between Yochid and Echad. Okay. Rakayachol is who atzmusa mamish, right? Rather, his ability is his very essence. And it's not separated from him at all. Gam kodem shehe'etzil hakelim ma'isa yachol zois kavua ba'atzmus hamatzil. So even before he emanated the vessels, this ability was fixed within the essence of the emanator. Li shum pirud v'arkova klal, without any separations or compositions at all, chas v'shalom. And after the vessels were emanated, nitofas hagilui legabe hakeli bilvad, right? The only thing was added. What was added? It was a revelation pertaining to the kelim only. But there was absolutely no new development, the newness, right? If you want to call it, right? Did not occur in the aspects of the light, light themselves at all. Okay, compared to the light, there was no ischachus. Right? And this is the meaning of I am Havaya did not change. Havaya hu gilui or. Because Havaya is a revelation of the light. Vakelim ham shemot kel elokim kamavua, right? Vakelim, these are different names, which is kel, which is elokim, etc. And therefore, whenever Hashem is shining his light into the kelim, right, this emanating process, right, the existence of the vessels to the existence of the vessels, right, there is no change or newness in him at all. Mitzad his galus lahatzila kelim, right? So this is so even though he reveals himself to emanate the vessels. Okay. Because what only thing that is added is the gilui pertaining to the mekablim of that light. Shehem hakelim, which is who are the mekablim in Atzilus. These are the kelim. They are the one that contain the light now. And what changed? Nothing changed. Okay. Okay. And through this, we also understand the statement that I am Havaya did not change. Gam ba'atzmus or en sof. Also, regarding the atzmus or en sof, nothing changed. Hanimshech alidei tzimtzum. Okay, now we're going into more. That even now he's going higher. Okay, so in the beginning he was talking about Atzilus and the Kalim of Atzilus. He's making a change. He's like, oh, there was no change in Atzilus, but you know what? Even higher, even in the Tzimtzum Arishon, which is before the Atzilus, which is why Atzilus was created in the first place. Okay, in that Tzimtzum Arishon, b'bchinas kav b'chut, and also regarding the essence of the Or Ein Sof, which is drawn through the first symptom, right, of kav b'chut, also nothing changed. So you see, what is he doing? He's establishing a certain relationship within the spheres. And that's why I find it to be so essential to learn Seder Hishtalshalos, because what ends up happening, once you understand a relationship between the spheres, you'll understand that it truly applies all along. Okay, the whole Seder Hishtalshalos. Okay, and this is exactly one of the illustrations of this thing. Okay, how things work in Hell Vigilui in the world of Atzilus, and then he says, and also in the Atzmus or in Sof, Hanimshech alidei tzimtzum arishon b'chinas kav b'chut, shezeu ma shenimshech alidei kav b'chut nikra b'shem matzil, right? That through kav b'chut, okay, we get this, whole understanding of emanator. Atzmus or in Sof lo yitachen likroisu b'shem matzil, because the essence of or in Sof, you cannot call matzil emanator. That would be a huge limitation. Okay, mitzad shu b'chinas ein sof v'kol yachol his galus v'le'ein shir, right? Because he's infinite, right? And he is able to reveal himself without any limitations. Rag b'chinas akav v'chut she'or nimdat lehiyois makor le'eser spheres d'Atzilus. Only the level of kav v'chut, which is the measured light that becomes a source for the spheres of Atzilus. Right? Because kav b'chut, it's already a measurement. It's a kav that measures. Okay? Eser v'latesha. It's 10 and not 9. And therefore, it's already matzil. Okay, v'hine hamshacha is b'chinas kav b'chut hu rak gilui ha'elem bilvat. And that's hamshacha, and that flow. Okay, that actually comes from kav b'chut, or of the kav b'chut. It also comes in Helem Vigilui. Okay, sheniglu b'chinas makor ha'ishtalshalos, right? That the level of the source of the ishtalshalos becomes revealed. V'lo nitafes gam hagilui l'gabe makor ha'ishtalshalos, and nothing is being added. Only the gilui compared to the source of the ishtalshalos. Okay, so it's the same idea. Okay, the same system works in Atzilus and higher than Atzilus. And therefore, even before, when he started shining in a way, in the kav b'chut, that gilui was in perfection within the essence of Or Ein Sof. So nothing really changed. And if so, there is absolutely no newness, right? There's no development in the essence of his Or Ein Sof. And one could say, like, oh, though the fact that the kav b'chut is drawn from him, but he in his essence didn't mention, because it's all was done for the Mekablim. If we will just understand that everything in the Hishtalshalos was done for us to see, for us to receive from Hashem, didn't change anything in Hashem. Okay, and we went through all these questions about philosophers previously. So what was the revelation? What was the newness? It was the gilui towards the Mekablim. Shu makor ha'yischadshus. that he is the source, Makor HaIshtalshalos, that he is the source of the Ishtalshalos, as it was explained above. Okay, so here we go. So far, he is trying to prove us that compared to the Mekablim, there was his Chashrus, there was renewal, but compared to the essence of the light himself, not in Atzilus, not in higher than Atzilus, there was no Chashrus. Right? And this is I am Havai did not change. And according to this, Havaya is interpreted referring to the essence of Or Ein Sof. Right? That Rit also talk about Havaya. So Havaya truly stands for two things. Okay, Havaya, the way it's being revealed from the Tzimtzum down, and also Havaya as Shema Etzem, right? Referring to the essence of Or Ein Sof. Ki Havaya b'chinas Shema Etzem, Yedu Avadal. As Havaya is the accident of essential name, right? In Lashon HaKodesh, there is a noun, right? There's noun, right? There's adjectives, and then action words. Nouns are action words? No, noun is whatever. Anyway, I'm not linguistic. We need to call Shimona. Shimona, where are you? Okay, so the Lashon HaKodesh is Shema Etzem, right? And then there's a Shema Poal, is the action word. And then there is Shema Toar, is the adjective. So Shema Etzem is the noun, right? I think it's a noun. It's like cup, I don't know, pen, right? Then there's action word, what these objects are doing. Then the description of it. So I don't know if you noticed, but the structure of the sentence in Lashon HaKodesh first goes Shema Etzem. Okay? And then everything that belongs to it. In other languages, especially in Hebrew, you don't say, you say like, I don't know, red ball, right? In Hebrew, you said ball red, right? You say kadur adom. You don't say adom kadur, right? It's funny because usually when we come from different languages, we'll learn Lashon HaKodesh, we say it and they laugh at us, right? Kadur, adom kadur. Doesn't work like that. Kadur, meaning Shema Etzem, in Lashon HaKodesh, the Shema Etzem first, and then it goes like Yalda Ratza, right? The girl is running, also in English. But let's say you're going to say little girl is running, okay, Yalda Ktana Ratza, right? So meaning Yalda always is going to be first. That's Shema Etzem. Okay, you see, even the structure of the Hebrew, the essence first, and then his pashtos. Understand?
So Mila, are you saying that the word Shema Etzem, it doesn't mean that it's the name of the essence, or even the essential name. It means that it's a description of it's the thing itself.
Exactly. Shema Etzem here is the thing itself. So that, and so it says, so now Havaya, Shema Etzem kayadu avadal. So he's saying the Havaya is the essential name. You could say the essential name, but what I'm trying to say is Shema Etzem also means now. You understand? It's like, it's the essence, and then everything what's pertaining to it. Okay, weiter. V'chein, Nira, I don't know what that Rashi Teva is. We need to check. Okay, v'derech efshar b'inyan ha'kelim. Okay, atzmam the Yetzirah, right? And so it appears to me, I don't know, all that it might be, right? It is possible explanation regarding the vessels themselves to the 10 Sefiros of Atzilus. So since the light is like that, so in Atzilus is a little bit different how Kalim work. Okay, since they are drawn from the light, there are two in the category of העלם וגילוי. So what he's saying right now is going all the way down. There's also in the Kalim, the light. Okay, the idea of Kalim, of Yetzirah, is the way they are being drawn down from the light. They're also in Gilui v'Helem. Okay, amazing. How is it? Okay, because v'hayu b'shleimus b'bchinas oiros gam kodem sheyotze l'dei gilui. Okay, they existed in the full perfections within the light before they emerged into revelation. Okay, v'lo naaseh b'hem shum itchashus machmas is galusam, and therefore there's no newness occurred in them because of the revelation. So you know what? There's nothing new in Atzilus. Just in case you're going to visit there. Nothing new compared to the light, nothing new compared to the, I don't know, somebody's not handling this, Miriam. Okay, nothing new compared to the kalim, nothing new compared to the kav v'chut. Everything is the way it was. But yet somehow Atzilus is being created, so quote, but not created, emanated. That's why we call it emanation. Because there's nothing new. Okay, rag legabe amikablim bilvad, but it's only pertaining to the mikablim. Shehem b'chinas neshamis umalachim d'Atzilus. So compared to the neshamis umalachim d'Atzilus, these are old souls. There's nothing new. They've been there forever and ever and ever and ever, and they're very special neshamis. Okay, because when they come down, that's what we call neshamis of Atzilus, right? Alter Rebbe, for example, right? I mean, this guy's coming down. Right? I did not change. So when they come down, they have absolutely no concealment. Understand? The neshamas that are crystallized on the level of Atzilus, nothing changed for them. Meaning they are coming down to the world, so quote, going through the whole hishtalshalos of Bri, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, and I did not change. The way I saw Hashem's, and I perceived Hashem's existence on the level of Atzilus, which is a very high level, Richuda Ilah. That's how they're going to perceive it down here. There's no concealment for this neshamas, right? So therefore, no wonder that Alter Rebbe was able to do what he was able to accomplish, right? And I assume that the Baal Shem Tov and all this, plus we know about Alter Rebbe that he was neshama chadash. It was a new soul. Okay, so a new soul that never went through other Gilgulim, meaning didn't have trauma. Okay, we call it in our modern language. So he looked at the world with fresh eyes, okay, with this gorgeous awareness of Elokus on the level of Atzilus, and that's why he was able to accomplish what he was able to accomplish, that me and you are here sitting. Okay. Oh, the Gabi Almin, the Yitvin, Vigulgolta, the Arich Vazah, or relative to the worlds that are situated in the skull of Arich and Zer Anpid. Okay. All the Gabi Hayecholes, Ayin Be'igeres HaKodesh, or relative to the chambers, see Igeres HaKodesh. Now, we learned it, right? Igeres HaKodesh. Recently, we were talking, Alter Rebbe was talking about this enormous amount, unlimited amount of worlds and chambers in the world of Atzilus. That's what he's referring to. Mila,
can I just ask a question there? Is he saying that the Makablim in Atzilus are the souls and angels, and the world situated in the Golgotha and the Hechalos? Is it a run-on sentence or it's something different? Like what?
No, it's a run-on sentence. No, it's not something different. It's like it's and or.
Okay.
Or relative to the worlds that are situated in the skull.
And what is
the Golgotha of Arich?
What is
it's like this Atzilus in a way that Alter Rebbe talks about in Igeres HaKodesh. I don't know which Igeres it was, but it was not far, not long ago. We only did 8, right? So it's like one of those 8 where the Rebbe mentions there, a few sentences that the world of Atzilus is like this. There's no end to it. It doesn't have a complete kalim. You see, Bria, it's more, something. Okay, Atzilus has this unlimited amount of chambers, unlimited amount of this. Everything is unlimited. You understand? In Atzilus, so even Atzilus contains within himself, all these worlds that are the world of that are situated in Golgotha, right in the skull. I said in a spiritual, Adam Hakadmon, right? apparently there's a lot of things going on there. Not that we need to know about it, but what he's mentioning here is like, these are the Makablim, so quote. And even compared to them, nothing have changed. It's only compared to them the revelation takes place. But even though it's unlimited, it's not limiting Hashem. That's what he's trying to say.
Okay.
In a sense, Hashem could just openly, continue creating all these, chambers and heichales, whatever is going on, and it's all amazing there. Aval bebchinas ein atzmam also en shum itzchadshus klal. Also, to the kelim themselves, there's no itzchadshus. Okay, because they are on the level of godliness. Livro yesh mi'ayin, to create yesh mi'ayin. As it explained there. I'll try to find you that Iger Sakodesh.
The kelim are not makablim.
I'm makablim. To do what?
Because he says regarding the vessels themselves, there's no hitchachut, but there's hitchachut for the makablim.
There's no hitchachut for the makablim.
I thought that's what he's saying there.
No, the hisgalus is the makablim. But they didn't use the word hischachus. Go back, you'll see. It's because the hisgalus is for the makablim. The revelation is for the makablim. There's no hischachus for emanator. There's no hischachus for the light of the emanator, and there's no hischachus for the makablim. That's what he's saying. Meaning, in the world of Atzilus, they're all one. Because remember, what we want to show that there is no division, right? There's no echad. It's yochid. Okay, and therefore, there is no division there. So if there's no ischachus for one, that means automatically there's no ischachus for the other one. And from all of the above, we'll understand the unity of the 10 spheres, right, within the essence of the emanator. That they are in absolute unity to the point that they are not separate from him at all. Okay? And this is the meaning that he and his life force are one. And also that he and his vessels are one. So the vessels are not separate from the light. It's more like, the way it's described, it's more of a hardening of the light. Okay? The vessels are not separate. It's like a hoof of a cow. It's not like a shoe. So it's a hoof of a cow. It's still an extension of the cow. Okay, but we, for example, wear shoes, right? Where the shoes is something we can take off. The cow cannot just take off the hoof. It's part of her. And explained above, similarly, the vessels are aspect of the revelation of the hidden also, gilui ha'elem. V'zeu loshen, the afikas, eser tikkunim. Right, and this is the meaning of the wording, you brought forth 10 tikkunim. Afika, what is this afika? Who gilui ha'elem? The word afik, brought forth, means the revelation of the hidden. Ma'ashenkin eser spheres the biyah. I think now we'll have a little bit more understanding and settling. Because now he's going to describe biyah, which is like, oh, I know that one, right? Why? Because it's very familiar. In biyah, it's different. And also regarding the extension, which is hispashtus, hispashtus of the light of the Atzilus. Okay, into them to give them life, right? Because biyah exists only because of Atzilus. Remember what happens with Malchus of Atzilus breaking through the screen of biyah, all that, right? And this goes into the category of the etzem v'hispashtus. And therefore, the life force appears as something separate. In Atzilus, nothing appears separate. Right? And therefore, that's where Hashem speaks. Okay, that's Hashem creates through speech, right? So what is so special about the speech? Speech is something outside. Kmo hadibur nifrat lechutz min ha'adam chului. For speech separates and goes outwards from the person. Okay, you could call it Atzilus, the world of thoughts, so-called, right? And here it's already a speech. והיינו, להיות שגם בעץ הסקללוסם במקוירם, הם בבחינס מציאוס דבר קצת. And this is because even when they are included in the source, the speech, okay, they still have some kind of existence. How do we know that? Because before I started to speak, I already started to form the letters in a specific language in order to say them, right? For example, I know that I'm speaking to you guys and you are English speakers. Okay, so therefore, I already formed the letters of my thought into English language. Okay, that's already has a metzias within me as something so-called a little bit separate than my essence. Because in my essence, when I'm thinking in my essential letters, I think in no language. Okay? Once it becomes a specific language, that's already a little bit separation, although I haven't spoken about it, right? So we're talking about this intermediary speech. Rak shemitachdim im ha'etzem. But they are merely becoming united with the essence, but I didn't speak it yet, so it's within me, so it's united, but it's already echad, not yochid. Why? Because there are different languages, happen to be that I speak 4 languages, all this is floating in my head, right? So are they united with me or they're not? They are one with me, okay? That's why you don't hear them. But once I speak them, that already becomes a very separate out of me. Although they are mit achdim, right? And the root of the word is echad, not miyuchadim. Echad. That means they are not in absolute unity. Right? On the level of being entirely inseparable from, they are not on the level absolute unity where they're completely inseparable, right? Because if I could think already in different languages, that means it's already being separated. But there are some essential letters that a person thinks to himself, okay, and he doesn't need anybody else. We, in our own, we think on those essential letters, they don't have any particular language, okay? We're usually not aware of these type of thoughts. Anyway, okay, shezeu ha'efresh bein yochid le'echad, and this is the difference between yochid and echad, b'lashon hakodesh chulu, right, in the holy tongue. V'lechein ha'hispashtusam mimakoyram hu b'bchinas yesh, and therefore their extension, hispashtus, right, from the source is out, because my speech, it's not fully united within me, therefore it could go out of me. Okay, remember? We already did this. Now he's putting it in the nimshal. Okay, so since Bri, Yetzirah, and Asiyah are the worlds that Hashem actually spoke, that means it is within him, okay, was not in such a tachlis hayichud. Okay, so cool. But then later on is going to say that it's not so. Mashakosov umisham yipared, and it is written from there it separates. They almost died. V'hainu mishum shaham shachas ha'atzilus me'atzmis ha'matzil hu b'derech helem v'gilui. And this is because the drawing down of the atzilus from the essence is done in helem v'gilui. There is not true separation there. There's no separation there. Not true, no separation there. V'amshachas bi'ah b'bchinas ha'kelem the atzilus hu b'derech helem v'etzem v'yispashtas. But the drawing down of the Bri, Yetzirah, and Asiyah from the vessels of Atzilus is in the manner of Etzem and extension. And therefore there is difference between them. In how they are included in the source. Okay? Just like the graph that we did last time. Hein bebchinas is galus l'chutz kanal b'mashal chulu v'dal, and in how they become revealed outwards, as explained above in the metaphor, and it should be enough to understand. Okay, now, with all that, we might seem, I know, so, what we just read, okay, it's one of those paragraphs, we'll learn that, when a makabel becomes too yesh, they upgrade the ha'ara. Remember that? Why? You think you understand. I'm going to tell you something that you'll understand that you do not understand. And I guess that's one of those paragraphs, right? It's like Mavatil asks, we're like, oh, Ravila, what are you talking about? But that's just what it is. It's one of those paragraphs. We just need to live through it. I don't think anybody of us were too much of a yesh to think that we really understand it. That's just what it is. Now, look over here. Now, that's how things are explained in Seder Shtalshlus. So from this, one might understand that this world probably something separate from Hashem. Isn't anybody getting this? Are you getting that or not?
Yeah, it does like that because of the mashal of speech. And
exactly, mashal of speech. Yeah.
That's how the world's created.
That's one side of it, okay? So be ready that you kind of create that formation in your head. You're like, oh, in Atzilus, it's not separate from Hashem. Bia is separate from Hashem, somewhat. Okay? Right? That's the right conclusion. It's a human conclusion. Okay? Just keep that in your mind. He needs to first discuss things to us from a human perspective. But then be ready that he's going to crush it. Okay? That's the fun part of it, right? You might like, oh, so the world is separate from Hashem. You just said that, right? No. Okay? Because he's going to go and he's going to say, compared to the light of Hashem, we can say what we say. Okay? But compared to the essence of Hashem, we cannot say what we say. Because he's describing through the paradigm of Tzimtzum. You understand? Through the paradigm of Tzimtzum, Atzilus has a privilege. You understand? It's such a lofty world, not separate from Hashem, blah, blah, blah. Okay, העלם וגילוי. And Bia is etzem והתפשטות. Wow, amazing, beautiful, great. But then he's going to smash that whole thing because that's from perspective of the Or and Sof. From Or and Sof, the light of Hashem, unlimited light of Hashem, this paradigm exists. There was a tzimtzum, and it's a long story, right? The tzimtzum, and the 3 levels before the tzimtzum, and the kadmon, and the rishimu, and the kavachud, and the Atzilus, and lamet kelim of Atzilus, and the bria, and all. It's a long story. It's a shtalshlus. It's like years of years. How many years we sit together, and we're learning it. Amazing. But then there'll come a time where we'll say, everything what you learn now, great. You think you know it? You don't. Okay. From Oren's perspective, that's how it is. But from the essence perspective, nothing leaves the essence. Okay? You get it? So you thought the world was separate? It's not. It's separate from a perspective of Or and Sof, Tzimtzum, Mekabel, that paradigm. But simultaneously, okay, there is an awareness which is higher than Yichud Ilah, higher Yichud Tada. None of this takes place. Okay, and this is the revelation of the essence. It's called simultaneously. Now, why don't we just go, okay, let's just go for the essence and forget about it? No. The only way you'll appreciate that, the only way you'll become like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, okay, and really live through it is when you appreciate the process. Do you understand? So that's why our relationship with Hashem is like a relationship of a slave to a master, okay? The relationship between a son and a father. You understand what I mean? All these type of very weird, a husband and wife and a husband, And then you might think yourself, like, why it has to be like this and like this and like this and like this, right? Because in a way, in a human psyche, we have all these interesting relationships. And, you know, to create a rounded understanding within us, we need to go through all this. You understand? And after living through all this relationship, right? We call it now, it's a fancy word, archetypes, right? And we do all this. And then we realize that we never left the palace to begin with. But that appreciation comes only after we went through all this work. Make sense? Somebody's not handling. I don't know, somebody just like keeps leaving. Okay.
Do you want to stop sharing the screen so we can
Yes.
see you more?
Why do we think that we can change anything via actions? It seems like we are under some kind of illusion. Well, that's an excellent question. Because you see, why Hashem created this whole thing? It sounds like a game, right? It's like, what's your problem? You know, you were really very bored. Like, why create such an interesting situation for everybody? Now, Hashem has like kind of like, you know, this dream, and we call it Dira B'Tachtonim. Okay? So Hashem wants to do impossible, mission impossible. What's mission impossible? That a person in this physical world with a physical small brain that we have, okay, and a Jew, right, will be able to reveal his true essence, the way it is when he was in the essence of God. The goal is not just a ratzo. If the goal would be just a ratzo, that would be easier. Okay, we'll just go, not this, not this, not this, not this, go up, up, up the ladder in understanding, and just vanish in the light of Hashem. But that's not what Hashem wants. Hashem wants us to go up the ladder, to understand and feel, not only understand intellectually. Right now, when Hashem wants Dira B'Tachtonim, it's a very intellectual understanding. It's Hashem wants us to go and retract ourselves in the essence. And that's, by the way, what we do every single week on Shabbos, right? We retract. No cell phones, no planning, living in now, and all that stuff, right? So we just retract from, okay, the world. And the main su'udah is when? During the day. Why? Because the night one's still connected to, you know, the past days. The evening one, it's still a connection, you know, the longing that's going to be, oh my gosh, you know, the Sunday is coming, blah, blah, blah. The middle one is that when we actually, you know, become like completely one with Hashem. So then what do you think happens then? We see the pleasure and the true ratzon of Hashem, that all that amazing revelation of that essence be revealed down here in this physicality. So therefore, when a Jew does an action, that effect is the lowest of the world. Like nothing. That's why we are these physical beings in this limited body. Because that's what Hashem wants. Hashem wants us to reveal this unlimited and beyond unlimited in this physicality of this world. That's his true design. That's why the mitzvahs are given to neshama b'guf. There are no mitzvahs. Meaning to the neshama in Gan Eden, she doesn't do a single mitzvah. And the mitzvahs have this profound potency because they affect the physicality of the world. We don't hear you, Miriam.
So in essence, what we understand, I mean, it's obvious probably to everybody else, but it's for the elevation of the neshama, not so much for Hashem's benefit. It's like the mitzvahs that we do and the way that we try and elevate the world by our actions. It has actually absolutely nothing to do with transforming in any way Hashem. It's basically for the neshama of the refinement of the soul. Is that correct?
I would say the refinement of the body, because the soul doesn't need refinement. It's a refinement of the body. That's why the mitzvahs are done with the physical body. Okay, Hashem creates the body. Hashem creates the animal soul, and the whole avodah of the soul is to refine the body and the soul. That's why all of it done like with a physical object. Even the 6 mitzvahs tmidiyos, right? Even the 6 constant mitzvahs, like love, fear, bitachon, and all that stuff, has to be done within the physical heart and brain.
Because often one gets the impression that the physical body is something that is to be, regarded as like an alien and a cause of all of our downfall in a way, in a sense. Like, it's quite hard to grasp the idea that it's for the refinement of the body.
Yeah, the Rebbe says it very clearly. Chabad, that's what Chabad Chassodus reveals, that it's a refinement of the body. Yeah, in many places the Rebbe mentions this. Now, the neshama gets the benefit also by doing this work, of coming and helping out the body. She also rectifies, and she gets the revelation of the essence, where before she would get only giluyim in Gan Eden, right? Now she has an opportunity to interact with the essence itself.
Mila, I have a question. I almost want to turn off the recording to ask this question, because I don't know if it's really like left field, like it's not connected. Look, in this paragraph, he's talking about how the world, in the end, he talks about how the world is manifest through Hashem's speech in a way of etzem v'tpashtus. And you're saying that later on, he's going to show us that that's only in relation to the light, not to the essence. Okay, fine. Right. So just to speak to that a little bit, you're saying that they're really 2 parallel systems, which we don't understand yet. But I'm wondering if that corresponds in any way to what he said much earlier, even in chapter 1, where he spoke about that from Koach HaMaskil, there's a channel that goes into Chochmah and into Bina. And that Bina connects much higher than Chochmah to Oneg, but that somehow you have to go through Chochmah. You can't go direct. Like, is he suggesting over there these 2 systems?
Yeah, for sure. There's always 2 systems. It's like you always will see, for example, it was a Bina, and then there's a pneumius of Bina. There's this and that. You always see there is, listen, something. We were having a discussion with somebody. I think it's called nepotism. Yeah, it's like, other schools, you have to have your personal connections, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And how unfair that is. And, one of our workers in OAYL, in Olio, so it's like we're talking about it. And then I told him, I said, what, by the way, it's the same here. And the person looked at me like, how, even by us? I mean, we have this. And I said, yeah, for sure. It's a human nature. If I know you, I mean, Naria, realistically, let's say you'll call me and say, Mila, I have this kid who really needs to have a school, but all my classes are full. Do you understand? I'll make an exception for you. But if somebody calls me that I have no idea who that person is, right? I'll tell them, sorry, my classes are full. Do you understand the difference? Now, is that really fair? Yeah, for sure it's fair. Because, it's you know why it's fair? I could give you the reasons from today till tomorrow. It's because Hashem created the world like that. And we see that. There is a system, and then there is l'mala min system. Do you understand? And these connections. Just how it works. In the biggest company, I guarantee you there's absolutely, nothing. You understand? It's like if Elon Musk calls me, I'll find a solution. Okay, to the problem. It just, that's how it is. We see that in Seder Shtalshalos, left and right. It's like the system is like this, okay? And that's chitzonius of system. And that's just what it is. You could watch from today until tomorrow, the door will not open. You do tshuva, all doors are open for you. What's going on? It's either open or it's not open. You know a secret code? It's like the key that opens all doors. We have it. What do you think? In our school, we did it. What do you think? I'm crazy to walk around with 65 keys for every single door? No, there's one called master key that opens all the doors. Yeah? And I keep only one key if I need to. Now, why we did this? It makes sense, no? So now anybody who gets a possession of this key can open it, but all other keys open with different keys. But then there's one master key. You understand that it's if we could come be mishtalshel for this here in this world, it's the only because how it works up in the high world. There is a master key, and Alter Rebbe calls it a 13th gate. Right? You know the whole analogy how he was creating a siddur. Yeah, 12 gates. But there's absolutely no way if you're in Shevet Dan to go through Shevet Yehuda. It's not going to happen. The key is not working. It's not going to happen. The 13th gate, everybody is welcome to. And what is this? We see that it's called Pnimius HaKelim. Okay? Through Pnimius HaKelim, you go everywhere you want. But you just need to have what? What do you think the key word here? Pnimius HaKelim? Bittul. Okay? You have that, whatever that means. I know we all have different understandings of what bittul means. Okay? But whatever that means, it's you have this, master key to every single door. Okay, now, through the system, you have to mature, you have to do this, and there's a whole Seder Shtalshalos. And people choose, which maslul they want to go into. And that's okay. Anyone is good. Because you see, there's a Rashi in Chumash. Okay? And it's amazing. It says, whichever way a person wants to go, he's being escorted. It also talks about Bilam. You know that whole story? That Hashem told him, don't go to curse. And then he went anyway. And then Hashem, whatever, this whole story with his, whatever he is. This donkey. And Rashi, it's a question. Didn't Hashem tell him not to go? Why then Hashem tells him, oh, now don't curse, blah, blah, and you will say what I will say? He didn't listen to Hashem. So it doesn't make sense why Hashem even continuing the conversation, just kill this guy dead. He didn't listen to you. Okay. It says, B'derech sh'adam rotze lilech molichim oto. The path that a person wants to walk, he's being escorted to. So it really depends on our desires. What do you want? You want to go through the whole set of shtalshalos? Go ahead. You want to skip? I don't know if you could skip, but you could definitely can take a shuttle. You know what it means, a shuttle? It's like shuttle. You need to know information to go through shuttles. I didn't know, for example, I didn't know the whole shuttle system in New York. But my kids taught me, they go on Miftsoyim, so they know subway better than anybody. Okay? So I wanted to go to the botanical gardens. Apparently, there's a shuttle from Kranai to botanical gardens. So come on, I lived for so many years, I didn't know. I either would walk, I would go, take a bus, and it would take much longer. My kids told me, no, just take a shuttle, and it's shorter. That's what it is. Meaning, Seder Hishtalshel is so well enough, so the shuttles. You understand?
So in a way, you're saying two things. You're saying that there's a shortcut, but there's not a shortcut to the shortcut.
No, because you need to know the map first. You need to know the map, and in the map, they'll tell you the shortcut. Do you understand? It's like you cannot know.
You can't get to the pnimiut except through the chitzoniut.
Exactly.
That's kind of the
now there are some simple people,
right.
Very simple people. They're not complicated. You understand? It's like the story from the Baal Shem Tov and crossing the river with a kerchief. You know that story?
Right.
I mean, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how many of us are on that level of simplicity. So if we're on that level of simplicity, then you're already in a shortcut. You don't need all that long story. But let's be honest. How did he get there? This guy have been davening the whole siddur. You remember? He didn't just appear like that. He had such sincerity. He wanted to daven to Hashem. I mean, how many of us are ready to sit? I don't know how fast this guy was reading, but let's be realistic. It took him at least 3-4 hours. Okay? So he had the sincerity to daven the whole siddur. And then when he found the Baal Shem Tov, he told him, it's taking me a bit long. Can you please show me the davening? I don't understand why there was nobody there in his town who could show him how he should daven. But whatever the story was, that's my questions on the story. But whatever the story was, he told him, okay, so now you daven like this. You put this little notes inside. Then Baal Shem Tov left, the wind blew, and all this fell apart. They didn't have sticky notes in those days. Okay, and then he ran after the Baal Shem Tov. We saw the Baal Shem Tov crossing the river. I mean, just think about it, how simple he was. I mean, come on, how old was this guy? This was not a 5-year-old child who thought that's how he crossed the river. But let's just stop for a moment. What was he thinking? He sees the Baal Shem Tov, he runs after the Baal Shem Tov, takes off the handkerchief. He didn't know there are boats. It's called. But you understand who you're dealing with, right? This guy is like, I don't know where he came out, which village he came out. But there were people in the villages like that. I'm sure they are now. So they're already in the Pnimius HaKelim. Okay, we got so sophisticated with technology, understand? So we're losing, and maybe we never had to begin with. I don't know. Everybody's so different, like the simplicity of things. So there are some people have simplicity. Baal Shem Tov crossing through the river with a handkerchief. I'm also just take out my handkerchief, put it on, and I'll cross without fears of being drowning, without fears of anything like that. This guy was fearless. Okay, that's Yetzirah, right? So for us, I may not necessarily be so simple. So we're going in a little bit. So then the Rebbe says, you're not so simple. Develop your brain. Okay? So that's what we're doing here, right? So develop your brain so at least you could learn shortcuts through, not such simple ways.
The long, short way.
Exactly.
Not the short, long way. So Mila, going back to the text. I mean, it's a very deep idea and it's very hard for the brain to contain. As you're telling the story, I'm thinking about certain situations when you deal with Israelis. There's the system, and then there's, real Israelis. They're like, what's that got to do with me? I go straight, it's the rules don't apply to me, according to Israelis. And that's how we live. That's like
there is some truth to it.
Yeah.
It's coming from somewhere.
Yeah. But to go back to this paragraph, because he doesn't deal with the two systems yet. He's telling us
No, I'm telling this to you.
Oh, I understand.
Because I could foresee why people might say, like,
yeah, it feels.
I'm just telling it to you. Just keep in mind that it's just one paragraph. You understand? It's not the whole chapter yet. So later on, he'll explain how this is not necessarily so. And I just happen to notice that people sometimes take one idea, and I don't know if you're going to come next class. Maybe on your chasana, so you just need to know that
right.
this
No,
is
definitely. I
within the
appreciate
context.
saying that, because you can start to feel like from Yehuda Tata that we separate from Hashem and that it's not the real thing. We're not really, all those kinds of things. So it's really useful. But I want to just say, like, going back to the paragraph itself. It's a very long paragraph. I mean, we could basically stop now and let everybody read it through on their own, because basically, you have to go through that. But how would you paraphrase the paragraph itself? Because it seems to me, that first of all, he's talking about Chochmah, or the world of Atzilus, in relation to the Matzil, which in my mind could be like Koach HaMaskil, like that the direct source of Chochmah. And he explains how that, tell me if I'm correct, he explains how that comes about through העלם וגילוי, like Chochmah in relation to its source. And then that's Havaya Hashem lo, Havaya, Aniyash Havaya lo Shaniti, like I didn't change in that relationship. And then he goes higher and he says, but what about what's above the Matzil? And is that where he talks about
Avachut.
Kavachut and the Tzimtzum? So he's saying, he's going above the world of Atzilus to what precedes the source of Atzilus.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then he goes down and he says the Kalim also. So he's going like this.
It's going up and down. Okay. And so then he describes how the Tzimtzum and the Kav and the Chut is also in the way of העלם וגילוי. So that's a higher system, higher than the emanation of Atzilut. Why did he need to do that? Why did he need to show us both of those systems as being העלם וגילוי?
Because he wants to, I guess, to show us that Tzimtzum doesn't really take place. I guess he's setting that foundation.
Okay. So
because
then
we might think that that's how it works after the Tzimtzum. I said, Tzimtzum also works like that. It's the same system. Okay, so Tzimtzum also is just for the Makabel.
So then he comes back down into talking about the lights and the vessels of Atzilus.
Because then one might think like, oh, he basically goes into the light, higher than the light, and then he comes back and he says, now the Kalim also works like that. So he does like that, kind of. He says Kalim also work like that. So you think the Kalim are separate? They're not separate. They are there to reveal, that's it, the vessels of Atzilus.
And it does feel like he's really speaking to the question of the philosophers, going back to earlier paragraphs.
I think he said 4 times, Anya Vaylo Shiniti.
And yeah, why does he do that?
He explains because you see, he breaks this paradigm. That's why it's so important to actually read it and read it. I will tell you, read it 5 times. Just do yourself a favor. Read the paragraph 5 times. It will do something to your brain, just even if you don't understand. Just read and translate, read and translate, read and translate. That's it. It will start, I don't know, it will start making sense to you. And maybe the 3rd time you'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't understand. No problem. Read again and read again and read again. At one point, it's like your brain will start adjusting. You understand? That's how I saw Maria. You remind me, how many times we read this? And Maria would come to my house. I just gave birth to my Musia. How many years ago? It was like literally, she's 15. It was 15 years ago. And she was this little girl in my hands, baby, and I would just read and I would start yawning. Remember that? My brain would just like blank, would just go blank. Okay, and that's just what it is. It's one of those paragraphs, you know, and it has a couple, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I just like, and my brain would just like, it was just dark.
But
it was just literally dark.
You have to read it with a pen, like to
Yeah, you read.
He's making this point, then that point, then that point, to see, because he wants to tell us something, but he has to do it in a very kind of roundabout way.
Because why he's doing it, you see? He could just give us bullets. 1, 2.
Well,
because he remember he needs to give it to us in a way of a symptom, but in a way that you could unwrap that symptom and get to the essence. Remember, he established that. The whole idea of the mashpia, that he doesn't kill the essence of it, because then it'll be symptom kipshuta. He has to kind of, so that's why you see him doing dance. You feel like, okay, why don't you just tell me? He cannot tell it to you, because if he will tell it to you, he'll limit. You understand? Like, he'll just put a limitation on the concept. So in a way, he's explaining, but he keeps doors open. Like this door open, that door open. And then later on, he'll fill that in. You know, so it's like, it's a very interesting how Chassodus is being written. Okay, so therefore we have to be very, very careful when we write diagrams and we do all that. It's really very careful work. It works just for that moment, but then you throw it out because it doesn't serve you anymore. Understand? It's like as you move higher and higher and you become, your brain becomes more fluid. Okay? What you created yesterday becomes a confinement for you right now because there's more things emerging. Understand? And he's doing it very, very slowly. He's in a way teaching us how to swim with all kinds of waves. Understand? It's like surfing in a way. Understand? It's not just a regular swimming. Regular swimming in a pool, it's boring. Okay, so you just know how to do motions. You got 10 types of swimming and case closed, right? No, but it's like he teaches you how to swim in a wave with waves and with different, you know, with different scenarios. So I think it's fun. I mean, you know, but
so the thing is also you have to get to the end of the paragraph to understand what his point is.
And sometimes we need to read 3, 4 paragraphs in order to understand what his point is.
Oh, for sure.
It's not so therefore it's one of those paragraphs where it's like, you know, there's only so much you could do work on that. Let's see what he says in paragraph 24.
But you do have to understand the pshat of it. That's the thing.
Yeah. So you understand the pshat of it. He's talking. The general part is that he explains the light of Atzilus, right? That it's not something concrete. There's no revelation yet. It's a potential for revelation. Okay? The kalim is where the revelation happens, but it didn't happen yet. Okay, so it's like, okay, so we're really talking about this. It's a super consciousness, I guess, by us. Within us, Atzilus is our super consciousness. Where this, I think we just skip that whole process in a second with anything that we do. I don't think we're even aware of that moment. So that's why it's called ayin. Atzilus is the world of ayin. Remember when we were speaking about yesh, ayin, yesh? This is what we're talking about. Yesh is everything before the tzimtzum. Yesh amiti, right? Then there is 2 levels of ayin, which is ratzon and chochmah, okay? And chochmah is the world of Atzilus. And then there's bina, is another yesh. So it's like this in-between type of like, I'm there, I'm not there. That's why understanding Atzilus, it's very difficult. You understand that understanding Atzilus, it's like what they call it, antonyms, right? It's the opposite. You cannot understand Atzilus. It's like,
yeah. But we did, you know, in chapter 1, we did speak about, he spoke to us about Chochmah and Bina, so that we know that there's something in our experience of Chochmah and Bina that corresponds to Chochmah, to Atzilus. Chochmah is Atzilus, and Bina is the worlds of Bia. That there is something in our experience that is the same paradigm. It's not Atzilus itself, but there's a paradigm of it. It's like when we're in our Chochmah brain, we know that you see it, but it doesn't, comes and goes so quickly. You're much closer to the reality of the thing. You get it, but it's you can't grasp it.
Right, because grasping is Bina, and Bina is already.
So then you start to bring it down into words, into the letters of thought, whatever it is, like you bring it down into something more concrete. But in Chochmah itself, it's an experience. There's no words for it.
I had a very similar experience of it. When I went to Tzfas, I remember that Shabbos in Tzfas. I was just like, I don't know what it was. It was just like a pure pleasure of looking of all these beautiful mountains. And I'm just like walking, and we are like this friends. On one hand, they didn't see each other, and I was just like quiet. I mean, me to be quiet, that's another story, okay? You don't see me that often. But anyway, I was in that state. I was just like quiet. I was just looking at these mountains, just walking by. It was like a nice weather, and everything was like, seems to be, I don't know what it was. It was like just beautiful. I was actually impressed. In Israel, you have these ring-necked doves, right? You don't have them by us. We have mourning doves, and they make different sounds. I was so fascinated by the cooing of those, but I was just like listening to. It was just like, I don't know. It did something to my brain. I was just like, and then Hamadina Nigan, I believe, I stayed by her for, she has this whole apartment where she rents out the rooms. It was really perfect. And my friend Liba Masha came, and they wanted me to share something, blah, blah. I couldn't share anything. I really couldn't. It's like as if I had forgotten everything what I've learned. It was like I didn't want to remember anything because it was a completely different. It was such a beautiful experience. I was like, what do you want from my life? Let me just enjoy. I was like, I don't have anything. A Dvar Torah. I was like, what Dvar Torah? I mean, I had nothing to say, and I stayed like that the whole Shabbos.
That is the difference between Galut and Eretz Israel. I'm sorry to tell you.
It's true. Yeah. It was just like I was so happy just to be, and it was very interesting experience. It was a very, very interesting experience. The only thing that triggered me to come down to this world, I was in the shul of Roni Pasternak, we were learning in Chochmah together with her. So I was so happy for her. They bought this gorgeous villa. You saw for the yeshiva. It's like 14 rooms in the middle of Tzfas. Gorgeous place. I'm telling you, I was like, that whole place completely elevated me to a different world. And I was sitting davening. For some reason, it took me hours. I don't know. I usually daven quite fast. But I was just like, I don't know why. I'm telling you, I was in a totally different world. Why it took me so long? And all of a sudden, they had this ufruf for this one young couple. And they were making kiddush already, blah, blah, blah. I was still by Baruch Shamar. I don't know how. I don't know. It took me like 3 hours. It's like not normal. And all of a sudden, this like one Russian lady started speaking with a very, very heavy Russian accent. She was talking about how hard it was for her in Russia and all the persecution. And for me, for some reason, it did not really resonate with Tzfas energy. And that's why it's kind of caught my ears, because everybody was talking. I was in the room with a lot of people were talking. I could still daven. And all of a sudden she was talking about this persecution and how hard it was, and the Stalin Yimach Shma, and then she said that, and then she said something that I started laughing. She says, I do not understand. There are people today, okay, that they watch comedy just to laugh in vain. I looked at her, I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, comedy is a lifesaver, Like, who doesn't like comedy? And she's like, I do not understand why people laugh. She said this word. At that moment, I came down from my Atzilus. It's like, What's wrong with you, young lady? You don't know why people laugh? It was really funny. That was it. That was the end of my trip. I just started to laugh. I don't know, it was such an interesting reaction, but I remember the story. I'm like, I feel very bad for her. I guess she was very affected. I mean, to do such a thing to a person, to bring a whole nation to a place. And then my other friend, Libomasha, she's also Russian. So she was telling also, she was speaking that, yes, I totally can relate. I also don't understand why people laugh.
Yeah.
And
So, in a way, I want you to read Miriam's comments and speak to them. But in a way, I mean, it's a bit off topic, but I think that there are many people saying this, what we're trying to find, especially in Eretz Israel, is a Torah of Gula. I mean, I guess you're saying, the Rebbe's talking about that. Well, like we're really struggling as a people. What she's describing is, the experience of Galut, the worst of Galut. And in Eretz Israel, there's a real attempt. This is where all the Jews come together from all over, bringing their Torah from everywhere. And within this mix, we're really struggling to find Torah Chadasha, Mititzetse, like the new Torah that will come forth from Zion, from, like everybody's bringing, and she's stuck, that what you describe is somebody stuck in their Galut Torah. In Israel, you don't work like that. You have kids that, when Iran is throwing bombs on us, which can mamash the size of a 7-story building, that can do, that's how big the bombs are. So you have, I live in a building, and there's like between two buildings, there's this large midrachov. I don't know what midrachov is. Like it's just where people can go, no cars. So the kids come out of all the buildings and are playing in the midrachov, and then the alarm goes off to say, there's a bomb coming from Iran. And within a split second, all the kids disappear. You hear they're laughing and playing, and then it's quiet. And then everybody goes into the mamad and stays there for 15 minutes. And then all the kids come running back into the midrachov and playing, laughing, playing, like nothing happened. Where would that happen in the world? That's Israel. It's like we can't get stuck in the trauma. I mean, there's a lot of trauma, but it's just extraordinary to see that kind of flexibility. I'm not speaking directly to the point, but I'm just saying that it's unusual.
No, 100%, right. I think you pointed it out.
It's just extraordinary to see this kind of flexibility that we're in the midst of this, 75 years of war. It just doesn't end. And yet we live and we create and we do, not stuck in, and what I felt as a Baal Tshuva coming into Chabad was, that I didn't want to be a Holocaust Jew. I didn't want my identity to be, because that's most secular Jews. Their identity as a Jew is about the Shoah, is about anti-Semitism, and about the negativity of it. And no, our identity as a Jew is the Torah. That's who we really are, to bring the light of Torah to the world, not to, actually it's Shlomo Karlibach says, a Jew is a soul doctor. And you have to be careful that you don't get the illness of the patient. So when you tell the story, this in a way, like it's easy for Jews. We've been so persecuted to become so, we get the illness of the world as opposed to holding the light and being a light unto the nations. It's a very subtle difference. It's not so subtle. I think it's very strong. Anyway,
Right,
that's a bit of
right.
extra.
I think Miriam mentioned something, right? Logically, it doesn't make sense. That's why it's so difficult to understand, right? Expanding the possibility of both worlds, many worlds, it seems, existing at the same time. Exactly. And that's very important to understand, that when the neshama goes down, through the whole Seder Hishtalshelus, she does not leave anywhere. You understand? Like, I don't know, for some people think like, okay, like it's as if like a queen goes out of her inner chamber and goes from one door, the next door, and the next door, and then she's no longer there. Understand? That's not what's happening. She continues being where she is. But she goes in her awareness through the different, ishtalshuls. Is that what I mean? Because nothing technically goes out of the essence. So what does happen? Okay, in the world of Atzilus, there's a possibility of the world starts existing. It's like the Soviet, right? Atzilus is more corresponds to the light of Soviet. And then there's Memale. Okay? And these are the awarenesses. It doesn't mean in actuality the soul leaves the place. It does not. So you're right. These are all things that are happening simultaneously. So that's why in his Bainanus, we could actually visit. Yeah, for example, I was reading recently to my daughter the story about Rashash. You know who's Rashash? Rab Shalom Sharabi, who was a very great Kabbalist, lived in Jerusalem. And I believe the Alter Rebbe based on him the Siddur. And the Rebbe often would be seen holding Rashash's Siddur. He was one of the followers of Arizal's Kabbalah, the way it was brought down through Reb Moshe Cordovera. So there's a very interesting story. Like often he would travel, meaning his students would sit around him. He would close his eyes and, where did he go? He would go visit higher realms. Okay, and then he would come down, whatever Torah he heard in Gan Eden, he would come down and then teach his disciples. So where did he go anywhere? Did he get out of some place, some space? No. What did he do? He traveled within him. He didn't die. How do we know? Because he still had pulse. He still had his heart pumping. So where did he go? He stayed in the same room. All his disciples, were all around him. It was actually one cute story, but whatever, I'm not going to hold you. But, it's almost beyond our time. But it's a very important understanding that what Miriam just said, they're all happening simultaneously. It's just the different layers of reality. And when we quiet the noise of this reality, okay, we're able to ascend to higher realities and get, whatever messages we have up there waiting for us. That is how it might have felt for Hashem creating our world. Like, it's so perfect here. What do I need to get involved with all the complicated details of the world? Right.
But Hashem had a ratzon. He wanted, it's the question, why did he do it?
Well, I'll tell you, Rebbe brings out in Kabbalah, nit avelo. He has like a taiva. Why there's a lashon nit avelo? When you're really obsessed about something, like, I don't know, I want that. This kid, I want that. Go explain them that it's not healthy, it's not good for you. Throw a tantrum. It's a taiva. I think all of us, as sophisticated as we are, we have taivas, okay? And we can understand they absolutely have nothing to do with logic. It's like, that's just what it is. I want it, and everything else works out around my desire.
Can I make a 5-second comment?
Sure, Saratova. So nice to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm thinking the same question. Why do I need to get involved with all these complications of the world? And then I realized just because I just reviewed the whole chapter, because part of one of the details of the complications of the world is me. Like, I'm part of that whole thing. So if the complications of the world aren't here, I'm gone. like I only exist in a sense, like I'm part of the complication. Like, I'm only here for that. So if that's taken away, like, I probably go with it. So, you know what I'm saying? So I don't need it. It needs me. You know, like, I can't, like, I guess what you're teaching is the only time I escape from the complications of the world are what you just described, when I'm outside of it. And then the rest of the time I'm part of it. So I'm only here because of it. So I'm just saying that's what I got from what I heard you saying before.
I think.
But then, you know, I'm trying to follow all this. How do we maintain two awarenesses at the same time? I mean, are we back and forth from up to down, or are we just holding it all? And what always comes back to me, anytime I learn, there's nothing that I've ever learned in Chassodus, a Sicha, a Maima, whatever, it always comes back to Dir B'Tachtonim. And, you know, and I remember, like, Manas Friedman, he was saying, like, in his new book, like, Hashem needs us to do that. So, you know, how do we stay sane while we're doing this, while we're bringing it all together? I guess it's through and I think
definitely need siyata d'shmaya. That's 100%. We need God's help, big time.
But I think what you said, Mila, before, to always remember that when the neshama comes down here, it's always connected above. It's never really separate. So if we can maintain the awareness of that thread and still be where we need to be.
That's the Geula. The Chama, welcome. That's the Geula, is that when we maintain, when we do not forget. Okay, and that's when we will be able to change the physicality of our brain. Okay, you maintain a desire to breathe, don't you?
Not it's involuntary.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's, I don't think you need to keep a conscious awareness about your breathing, right? And that's why in concealment spilos, okay, the Rebbe brings a very interesting understanding between his spilos and between dveikus, right? The dveikus is when we are actually connected with Hashem, the way we are connected with the very life force, right? So the same way, like you breathe, that's your life force. That's how your body breathes. You're not necessarily consciously aware, but yet you're doing these motions of taking in the breath and releasing it, right? That just becomes such a natural part of you since you were born, since your first breath, right? There is a level of achieving this level of dveikus and remaining there. Okay? That's part of us. It's you slowly through becoming aware of it. And then at one point it becomes so engraved in you that just everything what you do, it's like, how would you do it otherwise? Right?
So the Hitbonenut process, according to Shara Yichud, is what engraves it.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we just know it in a way of klal, as opposed to going through the details and meditating on it and putting our attention on it and learning about it in detail. And slowly it engraves it, and then it should become one's consciousness.
But then where does the resistance to the details come in? Is that like laziness? Is that just like, why bother if it's all one?
No, it comes from Nefesh HaBahamis. Concealment Spilos talks about it. It comes from animal soul's fear of losing itself. Okay, because Nefesh HaBahamis is in a very much in a yesh state, anything abstract threatens. Oh, I don't know what are you talking about? Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just focus on my bank account right now. Okay, let's just focus on what am I cooking for supper right now, because that's its mechanism of survival is yesh.
So I'm talking about the opposite, though.
No, the mechanisms, yeah, because that's what Nefesh HaBahamis' mechanisms of survival is yesh. Whenever his bonanus goes from yesh to ayin, remember? Chapter 1, right? His bonanus takes us from yesh into ayin. And then ultimately will bring us the true yesh awareness. Now, when we leave from yesh to ayin, then the shama, the Nefesh HaBahamis feels very threatened. So therefore it becomes lazy, hungry, tired, vulnerable, all these amazing things that he throws at us, right? Oh, I don't want blah, blah, blah. But if we can only explain to our Nefesh HaBahamis that it's going to be for her own benefit, okay, that true yesh that's going to come, okay, it's going to give her much more pleasure. And that's what Rabbi Hillel Paritcha said to all those Baal Taivas out there in the world. If they would only knew that, one second, if they would only knew how much pleasure Hashem is truly could give them, okay, if they would do, these Baidanos, they would leave everything, all the pizzas and all the delicious whatever they're out for, okay, and really do his bonus all day long. But because they have no concept, they're like, oh, so for this pleasure seeking, or traumatized Nefesh HaBahamis, whatever, she might be, because trauma only takes place in Nefesh HaBahamis, because our soul never has any trauma, okay, other than being separate from Hashem, okay, so then everything is, everything is good.
Mommy. Mila, I think we should call it a day. And
can we read Miriam's comment?
We did actually.
No, the last one. It
just
says
popped
an
up.
insight. We aren't doing the mitzvahs. Hashem is doing them. Us being directly connected or part of Him, we aren't separate identities. Right. We could say, yeah. But it's us doing it. Right, Hashem, yeah. Hashem allows
then
us.
it's a partnership.
Right. You are muted, Miriam. I hear you too.
I'm just saying thank you, Mila, and certainly got things moving, and yeah, it lifted my spirits today. I needed that very much. Thank you.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, everybody. And B'ezrat Hashem to be continued next week.
Thank you.